This is lesson 6 from our series, How to Play Blues Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you 5 shuffle variation patterns that you can use to spice up the boogie pattern I taught you in lesson 4. Be sure to download the free corresponding How to Play Blues Guitar e-guide. It includes all the charts and diagrams for this lesson, as well as all the charts and diagrams for the whole series. So in lesson 4, I taught you the boogie pattern or the classic blues pattern, and we combined that with the shuffle rhythm, and it sounded like this. In this lesson, I'm going to show you 5 variations on that pattern. First, I'll demo each one just so you can hear what I'm talking about. And for each variation, so 5 different ones, I'm going to play the 12-bar blues through once. And when I come to the ending, I'm going to end with that ending chord that I showed you in the last lesson. And I'm going to play them to the basic shuffle beat backing track, just so you can hear it in context better. And when I play it, I'm not going to play the quick change. That way you can really hear the pattern on the one chord. So I'm just going to play that one chord, without the quick change through each of these patterns. So here's a demonstration of all the 5 variations. So those are just 5 examples. There's many other options, but this is a really good place to start and build from. And like I said, I played them without the quick change just so you could hear it established more easily on that one chord, but you can play it with the quick change as well. But for now, I'll just stick with playing it without the quick change. So I'm just going to break each one of those down and then talk a little bit more about them. So variation 1 I played is pretty simple. Everything I'm going to show to start with will be with the A5, the 1 chord. So you just start with the 1 and 2 and that you learned in a previous lesson, which was part of the... So you play the A5, which is the open 5th string, and then the 4th string fretted in the 2nd fret, and then you play the open 5th string still, but then the 4th string fretted in the 4th fret. So 1 and 2 and... So if you've come through the series, you already know that part. But now, instead of going back to the A5, what we're going to do is we're going to take that note that's on the 4th string and slide it up to the 5th fret. So A5, 4th string 4th fret, and then 4th string 5th fret. All with leaving that 5th string open. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then right after that we go back down to having the 4th string 4th fret fretted, and of course the 5th string still open. So really slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And you just keep repeating that, and then when you go to the next chords it's going to stay the same. So what I was doing when I played that, I was sliding my whole hand up, and technically I'm just playing with my 3rd finger, leaving the 5th string open, and then fretting the 4th string 5th fret. But I leave my hand in the shape that it was when I started, just so it's easy to move back and forth without changing it. So if I was to do it with one finger, it might be a little easier to see. So I'm just playing the open 5th string, fretting the 4th string in the 2nd fret. So but I'm doing it like this. And you can do it that way where you're sliding your whole hand up, or you can turn your fingers more vertically with your fret wires and play it like this. So then I'm using my 1st finger, 3rd finger, and then 4th finger. Back to 3rd finger. So whatever's more comfortable. I like to keep my hand like this because it allows me to mute out the 6th string when I'm not playing it, and it just feels more comfortable. Also in blues, when you start getting into licks, you're usually going to have your hand turned like mine is and not turned more vertically. It's really hard to play blues licks when your hands are like this because there's lots of bends in the blues. And when you're bending strings, you need to use your 1st finger as a pivot to do that, and you can't really do it when your fingers are vertical. But we'll deal with bends later and licks. For now, you can play it either way, but I do recommend if you can play it this way with your hand, your fingers turned more towards, pointing towards like your face or your body, that's going to be a little easier to transition into playing licks than if your fingers are turned like this, more vertical. So again, and you just keep doing that, and then when you go to the D5, you just move everything down a set of strings and do the exact same thing. And then when you're on the E5, it's the exact same thing. It's just with the open E string, the 6th string, and then the 5th string. But you should already be pretty comfortable with that if you've come through the lessons and we're already playing. Now it's just adding the one element of moving up 1 fret. So that's variation 1. Variation 2 is slightly different than that. So this time we're going to start with the A5, of course, again, and then 1 and 2, and this time we do go back to the A5, 3 and, so 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's just like the original classic riff that you learned. But this time, after you do that, then you go all the way up to 5th fret and have the open 5th string and then fret the 4th string, 5th fret, and then play that once and then back down to the 4th fret. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if I do it with one finger. just like that. And again, you can turn your fingers more vertically if that helps. Or you can keep them like mine, which I recommend. And then on the other chords, it's the exact same thing, the D5 and the E5. So that's variation 2. Variation 3 adds in a little different element, and this one goes with the A5, 1 and 2, and so going up to the 4th fret, and then back to the A5, 3 and this time on the 4 and, you're going to go. So that's playing the 5th string, 3rd fret, and then the 5th string, 4th fret. And you're just playing those notes, so one note at a time as you do it. You're not leaving other strings open. So that might be a little trickier for you. It's a different element because you're going to playing single notes on the string that's lower in pitch but up towards the ceiling. So it adds a different element. You're having to pick that out and be more precise with it. And if that note that's on the 4th string, 2nd fret, rings out while you're doing that little lick, it's fine. That works as well. But a lot of times you can just leave that from ringing out. So, and then that's on the A5, exact same thing with the D5. Same thing with the E5. And then variation 4 is very similar to that last one, but instead we go 1 and on that A5, the 1 chord, but then right away after that on the 2 and, you're going to play those 2 notes. So the 5th string, 3rd fret, and the 5th string, 4th fret. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then we go 4 and. So on those last 2 notes, it's fretting the 4th string, 4th fret with the open 5th string, of course. So 4 and. So it's. And then, of course, the exact same thing on the other chords. On the D5. And then on the E5. So that's the 4th variation, and on the last variation, it's very similar to the one we just did, except we're going to go on the 1 chord, 1 and then play those 2 notes, the 5th string, 3rd fret, and the 5th string, 4th fret. So again, 1 and 2 and then back to the A5, 3 and. But this time, instead of going 4 and like we did in the last one, which was from the 4th fret down to the 2nd fret, so what we did the last time. This time we're going to go from the 5th fret to the 4th fret on the 4 and. So, and again, you can play it like I am by sliding your hand up and keeping your fingers pointing more towards your body, or if you need to turn your fingers more vertically, you can do it that way as well. And the thing about these variations is you can play one of these variations through the whole 12-bar blues, but usually you're taking a lot of these variations and mixing and matching them. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take these variations and mix and match them and play through one chorus of a 12-bar blues. And as I play a different variation, it'll say the variation I'm playing on the screen so you know what I'm doing. But basically, I'm just taking these variations that I showed you and mixing them, matching them together to play a whole 12-bar blues chorus. And then if I kept going, if I played the turnaround and started over, which I'm not going to do, I'm just going to end it after 12 bars. But if I did play a turnaround and start over, I'd probably mix and match even more. And that's just to keep a 12-bar blues more interesting, because a 12-bar blues is just a 12-bar form over and over and over again with the same chords going. And these little riffs, these variations, can help to really spice it up and make it much more interesting. So here's an example of a whole 12-bar blues, mixing some of these variations, and then, like I said, I'm only playing one time through the 12-bar blues. I'm just going to end it after that on the 12th bar. So for practice, get all these variations down. Just start with the first one. Just play the one chord, so the A5, and just keep on the A5 until you have the pattern down, and then do it on the D5, and then do it on the E5, and then try to do it through the whole 12-bar blues, and do it out of time, without the backing track, without a metronome, really slowly until you're comfortable, and then you can add the backing track in, and then just do that with all 5 variations the same way. And then when you're really comfortable with them and being able to play them to the backing track, being able to play them in time, then you can start mixing and matching and coming up with your own variations as well. And just play them in the 12-bar form, and you can play them as many times as you want using the turnaround, and then when you're ready to end the 12-bar form, the 12-bar progression, just use the ending that I showed you in the last lesson. So those are 5 shuffle pattern variations. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to play a blues in the key of E. So thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and keep moving forward.